The Mavericks world, the Isle of Dern, is an absolutely monumental project. We're developing it to have huge amounts of bespoke, carefully considered content inside of that map. Each of those levels that we place into the Isle of Dern, within that natural environment, goes through 3 stages. First of all, it's a capital blockout. That's a very bare bones level that enables us to test kind of lines of sight and basic properties of gameplay we might want to put there. The second stage is where it becomes a speed model. It has a thematic in place. We've made numerous speed models to fit within that map that enable us to pretty much create what you'd expect in many respects as a final map. It just misses the kind of third stage, which is a further art and detailing pass, where we create more clutter, where maybe we add in flares and small extra mechanics into that area.
Today we're going to focus on the train yard, which is one of the many thematics that will exist on the Isle of Dern. So the train yard's comprised of speed model assets. They're a halfway house between an asset being a very early grey box design and a finished article. These speed models are something that will come to representing most of our levels in the Forge. They'll come in at a similar standard as you'll be seeing today. It gives you an idea of what to expect, both from a visual point of view and from a gameplay point of view.
And what you'll find is that week on week as we go through the Forge, not only will these areas evolve, but we'll be replacing more of the blockout areas with the speed model maps, which will then have infrastructure, they'll tie into each other, they'll fit nicely into that natural world, and we'll start to be able to develop the faction narrative and other interesting ideas that you'd expect when you have the thematics in place.
Because of the realistic setting of Mavericks, everything we do visually and from a gameplay point of view is very grounded in reality. So we do go by logic, and it just puts an additional sort of step involved in the development of some ideas that are a little bit more off the wall. Adding that infrastructural layer helps us make a believable world, add to the opportunities of interesting gameplay that we can throw in there.
With Mavericks, we've thought very carefully about how we're going to build this world, and the only way to do it, the only way to achieve awesome scale with really high quality content and that kind of rapid iteration, was both for us to create new tools, which we've been working on now for a couple of years, but it's also to combine that, the efforts of our design team, with the community, and through the Forge, for us to adopt a new approach that enables us to communicate new ideas for the map, place things into the map, and kind of evolve areas of the map with you as we literally update the world week on week.
Feedback from the community is really important. It's one of the crucial things that a lot of games get wrong, in that they adopt this very traditional workflow of, okay, well, this is what we're building, okay, we've built it, right, it's out, and there's very little aftercare or thought to go back to that and try and refine it. And we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we're simply looking at that structure and thinking how we can change that and how we can deliver a better game. And that means testing assumptions, putting out what we think is going to work, and that can be based off other things that are already out or they're not already out. And we take that and we refine it, and we have the tooling that supports that.
So these levels fit into the natural world, that backdrop of Mavericks. And the natural world is also something which required a lot of thought and attention to how we'd approach building a large-scale world where, although you have all these interesting levels and that process that we're using to make those great, we also need all the areas that tie them together to work. There's a huge space, a lot of it will be natural landscape. So we also think very carefully about how we're going to build that, and that will be the topic of our next video.